All right, welcome to another episode of the Stickbow Country podcast. This episode is brought to you by none other than Soft Trail Archery. Mike Roberts, right now, I believe, is in at Etar in Pennsylvania, trying to sell some of his wonderful bows. And for those people that will be watching this on YouTube, I got a couple of them over my shoulder. And one exciting thing about Soft Trail Archery is he came out with a new target bow. It's a 66 to 70 inch longbow called the Ascend. That if you're a target shooter, I highly would recommend it. And what's cool about now is Mike just shared a post that one of his shooters that's shooting hit this Ascend just won some big. I should probably know this, but he just won some big indoor trad shoot somewhere with the Ascend. So that's really cool. Tonight I got on a podcast Jarad Stubbs, who is either I think part owner of the Elevate Tree Stand Company, and I fell upon him, I don't know, last few weeks on Instagram like I do a lot, and man, I was blown away at the stands first and foremost, and I really love the fact that uh, he's a God-fearing man, and he posts that, and I just love that. And I just thought, you know what, I got to get this guy on the podcast. So, Jarad, thanks for coming on. So, why don't you just introduce yourself a minute?
Yeah. So, Jarad Stubbs. I was born and raised in Kansas. Grew up on a farm. Went to a small private Christian school. My graduating class was a big one of like 8 people, 8 kids. So there were times where it was me and another kid in my class. It was a
Mhm.
one-room school, and I wouldn't say that I missed out on anything other than maybe some sports, but the education that I got and um, the Christian learning that I got from that was I think has really truly shaped my life,
Yeah.
uh, and made me who I am. And so I don't, like I said, I maybe missed out on some sports at the public schools because back then you really couldn't do that.
Mm,
But what I gained was immeasurable.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I guess a little bit about myself. Like I said, I grew up in Kansas. I moved out when I got out of high school. Got to work in aerospace, and I did that for probably it was what, about 18 years or so. And it was an aerospace company that we polished skin sheet aluminum, but worked with aluminum the whole time.
Mm.
Different types of aluminum, things like that. It was a great job. The Alcoa is a great company. And then now I work for a steel fabrication business. And out of that is how Elevate started. So I do not own Elevate,
Oh, okay.
helped start it. So it's one of those things that, a lot of people just never kind of know,
Yeah.
but we started it from the steel fabrication business, and kind of, I guess, to go into that basically. And I guess to go back a little bit, growing up, I hunted with my brother,
Okay.
Josh, and him and I hunted together, and still to this day hunt together all the time. But we grew up doing that. As soon as one of us could drive, we were driving ourselves. If there was a snow day at school, that meant we were going hunting. I remember one time when we were in high school, we were driving behind the road grader that was pushing the snow off the road. Uh, Everybody else that was a little bit smarter than us was staying home. We were out trying to, I don't even remember what we were hunting, probably ducks or pheasants.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, so to go back into kind of how we started Elevate in 2020, when COVID hit, basically there was kind of a shortage of tree stands.
Mm.
And Josh and I had always wanted to, growing up, we always thought, man, it'd be so cool to have a company in the hunting industry and be able to do that. Little did we know that then that makes you busy during hunting season, and that's not always That's not always a fun thing. Sometimes in November, we're like, what were we thinking?
Uh,
Uh, but yeah, so it was hard to find a tree stand in stores. A lot of companies um, have their stuff made overseas, and so with that, it was like, hey, we have the machinery here that we think we could make tree stands with, and um, Josh is the president of that steel fabrication company. I'm the quality manager there, and so Josh talked to the owner and was, you know, brought up the idea that we
yeah,
had, and he was all for it, to diversify the business, and so started working on it, um, and launched on Black Friday of 2021. So basically,
well,
kind of took our experience with aluminum, our experience with hunting, and with tree stands, used a lot of different types. And for Josh and I, it's we find what we like, and spend a lot of time in the stand, and so you
yeah,
start thinking of, hey, I'd like this in a tree stand, or I think this would be better, or this is a problem that most people have. What's the solution for
yeah,
that? And so uh, there's another engineer there at work. His name's Matt, and he helped on the design. He came from it from an engineering aspect, and then Josh and I were able to come from a hunting aspect of like, oh no, that's not going to work, or hey,
yeah,
we never thought of that. Uh, so we started off in, like I said, launched on Black Friday of 2021. Uh, kind of went from there. We started with just one tree stand. It was our biggest one, the Element,
yeah,
and learned from that one. Um, Really, one of the important things for us was to listen to customers.
yeah,
What did you like? What did you not like? We had an attachment method of how the cam buckler, the ratchet strap attached to it. We thought it was good. People didn't really like it. It just never clicked with people.
yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah,
fine. We'll listen to you. And
right,
so we changed that for our next stand. So it was like I said, listening to the customer. Hey, we don't like this, or it's just not the most optimal way. And okay, we'll change it. So
yeah,
one of the things is that we design and manufacture in house. So those changes we can make pretty easy, um, and adjust that to maybe new ideas, or just like I said, things, feedback from our customers.
that's, you know, okay, you're starting this tree stand company. One of the questions I have is, so you launch it on Black Friday. How many, if you want to share, how many tree stands did you have sitting there, for your launch? I mean, do you have 12 or do you have 100? And how do you play that game?
Yeah, I don't, man. To be honest, I don't remember exactly how many. You kind of have this vision of, hey, we're going to start this company. You think, man, it's just going to be, successful right away. Uh, and you're kind of, watching the emails as the orders, come through, and you think, man, it's just going to go great. We ordered a bunch of apparel, thinking, man, it's going to be great, and it It's surprising that in this day and age that it is difficult to get your name out there. Sometimes it's difficult to. We still have people that have never heard of us,
Hmm.
and with the reach that Instagram has, that Facebook has, that YouTube,
Yeah,
it takes a lot of work to get your name out there, especially if you're a startup company and you're not you know have a huge amount of money behind you, or you're not
yeah,
spending $500,000 in marketing. But one of the things that was really important to us was quality. We like high quality products,
yeah,
uh, and and so whatever we do, whether it's the photography, whether it's the design of the tree stand, whether it's our logo, things like
yeah,
that. We put a lot of time and effort into that, and I feel like it's shown. I feel like it shows that with the customers, the feedback that we've gotten. Um, we've every company has its bumps along the road, and we've taken care of those and stood by our products, and it's really resonated with some people and become a successful company. I mean, it's kind of crazy how for us like how far we've come. I mean, came from not having anything in the hunting industry to becoming a well-known brand.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in this tiny, tiny traditional archery community. I mean, it's just a sliver of the archery. I mean, literally a sliver of the archery world, and I understand that. So would you know of any, I'm always looking at ways to grow this podcast. I'm looking at ways to, I make wood arrows for people,
Hmm.
and I do the Instagram and the Facebook and stuff. Do you have like a magic wand, Jared, that you could just say, "Hey, Mark, do this," and you'll grow tenfold, or isn't that out there?
No, I don't. But if you figure it out, let me know. That'd be great. You know, I think one of the important things is remaining true to who you are.
Yeah,
It's you're not playing a game of, I do this, this, and this, and you really don't.
right.
It's just this is who we are. We love to hunt. We hunt as much as we can. Our jobs pay for us to be able to hunt. I mean,
Yeah,
you know, that's that's where most of my vacation time goes
right.
is hunting. That's where I spend. Well, don't tell my wife. I mean, she knows, but it's like that's where a decent amount of my money goes is to hunting.
Yeah,
And it's just like I said, that's who we are. We wear our faith on our shoulder.
yeah,
We're open about that. And I think, you had talked, before we started the podcast about kind of unique stories. That was one of the things, uh, as we started, it was like, God, this is in your hands. This is something that we feel like could open up a lot of doors,
yeah,
and obviously, the goal of any business is to make money. You want to make a
sure.
profit. But the other idea was that, hey, use us however that we can be used in this space.
Yeah,
And during the first trade show that we went to, where we were selling product, uh, we prayed before that, and it was like, God, if this is something that you want us to do and want us to continue with, let us make a profit. Like let this show pay for itself. Um, because the first show was in Pennsylvania, so you have a 20
oh,
plus hour drive. You've got your booth space, you've got your lodging, your food,
hmm,
bringing people out there, so it's not cheap.
right.
And so the prayer was, hey, if this is what you want us to do, let it be successful, and if not, hey, let this be a sign. Don't let us sell anything.
Yeah,
and and that first show was a success, so it was like, okay, that's
yeah,
that's our sign, and that you want us to continue. So that was, I think, kind of a unique story about how we started, and
man.
just kind of kept going to shows, and it grew from there.
Well, you touched on how, you still get people that haven't heard of your business, and that was me just a few weeks ago
Yeah,
or whatever last time. And I'm like, Elevate. I never heard of Elevate. You heard of Lone Wolf and blah 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 blah. And I'm
yeah.
like, I gotta check this out. And yeah, you're right. It seems like it's hard to imagine that there's people out in the bow hunting world or hunting world that haven't heard of Elevate. And no, that's really cool. Now, let me ask you this. So you guys you're making them in Kansas, which I absolutely love. I'm a man when I can, which is a lot of the time, not all the time. I really like American made products. I just do. Or if I want to be blunt, and I know this sounds terrible, but you walk in some of these stores and you feel like every item. is made in China. And it's like, and I'm not saying we can't be part of that market. I'm not here to be on a pedestal that if you don't buy American, you're bad. But there's just something about when you have a hobby, at the very least, let's support guys that are hardworking in America. And to me, it's just a win-win. So I love that about your business. So having said that, what's your biggest challenge of being American made? Do you have like quite a few extra hurdles to go through because of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, ultimately the biggest challenge is pricing. It's hard to compete. Here in the US, you've got employees that, you know, you've got insurance that you have to pay for. You've got wages that you have to pay for that are typically going to be significantly more than overseas.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's a reason companies have that, a lot of companies have their products made overseas because it's cheaper
Yeah,
and you're able to make bigger profit margins. So I think that's probably uh, the biggest obstacle, for an American made company. Your input costs are typically more. Um, and with I know those companies are facing issues now with tariffs.
yeah,
Um, but those tariffs, even though for like us, we're not buying foreign made material. Well, if the foreign made material becomes more expensive for other companies that buy it, well, then that shrinks up your U.S. made market.
uh,
So prices go up. Add in inflation that
yeah.
affects basically everyone. I mean, anyone that's gone to the grocery store,
Oh boy.
it affects them. And so I think that's the biggest issue. But when you go back to the benefits of being made in the U.S. and for us, it's being made in house. We're able to control the quality. Uh,
Yeah,
we're able to do design a lot quicker. Anybody that has design done by third party or especially overseas, that takes a long time. So
yeah,
being able to shift things, make small adjustments, uh, like I said, based off customer feedback. You know one thing that we changed off customer feedback was our paint. We just went with a paint. A lot of guys were like, "Well, it seems like it's going to be slick when it's wet." Well, I guess there's some truth to that. I think a lot of it was just the feel because a lot of it you're getting the traction on the webbing and stuff of the
mm,
of the stand. But we listened to the customers and we started talking with our paint vendor, who's like 45 minutes away. And that's the other thing. It's like our
mm,
paint, we have it local.
yeah,
Uh, but we had talked to them about adding some texture to the paint. And so now our stands, and we did this a couple of years ago, but we added some grit to the paint,
uh,
and now you kind of have a texturized surface on the stands. So
uh,
just being able to make small changes like that is huge. I know in talking to other people in the industry, your lead time for overseas is longer.
sure.
For us, our goal is you order that day, we're either shipping it that day or the following day.
Yeah,
We try as hard as we can. We're trying to keep everything in stock to where if somebody orders it, they're going to get the product within a few days.
yeah. Well,
Most of the
and
people that probably have their stand or their sticks or their mobile bundle, they're going to have it within probably 5 days, just depending on where they live, in the
yeah,
country. So I think that's, like I said, there's some hurdles to it, but then there's some huge benefits to it as
yeah.
well.
Well, before we get into, I want to break down a little bit of your models, but before we get into that, Jared, I just want to highlight a couple more of the sponsors that help me out here. And I want to shout out to Mike and Tyler over at A Boyer Broadheads. And Jared, I don't know if you've ever heard of A Boyer Broadheads, but they just make some really, really Oh, I thought I had one right here. Quality broadhead, single bevel, anything from I think 125 grains. I think they got one now that might be close to 300. But anyhow, really, really well-built heads made in Michigan. Just salt of the earth guys that own it. They just bought it, I don't know, a few years ago, maybe. Just make really, really great heads. So check out A. Boyer Broadheads. And also, I want to shout out to Joe Callahan at True North Arrows. He supplies me with all my paints and clear coats for building wood arrows for people. And again, another Michigan guy. Good products, very good quality, really good service. Like Jarad was just talking about with shipping stands. Joe's the same way. So if you can, look up A. Boyer Broadheads and True North Arrows. So having said that, Jarad, why don't you kind of break down? I was on your website before coming on, trying to be at least doing a little homework here, and yeah, just briefly tell you about your models and give
Yeah.
us the info on that.
Yeah. So like I said, we started off with a full size tree stand, and that was the Element. And then from that, and kind of what we learned from that, what we liked and what we didn't like, we came out with the Ultra, which was a lightweight, and it was our smallest model. And that one, so when the Element, that was 10.4 pounds when we came out with that one. The Ultra was 6.25. So you're talking really lightweight.
Yeah.
It's a smaller stand, but there were a lot of the features that the guys liked about it. Kind of what I described those stands as is it has everything that you need, but nothing that you don't. So you're not going to be sitting back in the stand and with your feet out as far as you can get them. It's like I said, it's a smaller stand, but that's what that's what comes with lightweight. If you want to
Yeah.
get lightweight, you're going to have to give up, the extra space.
Yeah.
Uh, and then we came out with climbing sticks. We have a 17-inch model and a 20-inch model, and on those we didn't go to try and be the lightest weight stick. It's a dual rung for where you put your feet.
Oh yeah.
And so it's a little bit heavier. Or not, I wouldn't call them heavy,
Yeah.
but it's not, like I said, it's not your 1 pound stick. It's 1.6 for the 17s.
Okay.
But one of the things that we found is we're in Kansas. I'm typically wearing some bigger rubber boots, and a lot of the lightweight ones, you got maybe 3 inches to put your boot on.
Yeah.
You're coming down at night, maybe it's icy, and you're trying to get basically your toe on that rung. And so we went with a little bit bigger footprint for those. And like I
Yeah.
said, it's a dual rung design, and so you have plenty of space for your feet. And then one of the things that Matt, the engineer, that he came up with was, certain sticks have ways of attaching to each other. So
Yeah.
another stick company that it uses like a rubber grommet. And people talked about, man, over time it gets hard to pull those apart. And so that's one of the things that we've, tried to basically solve problems that you have out in the field. How
Yeah.
do we fix that? And so he came up with magnets to attach the sticks together. So it's a rare earth magnet.
Oh.
Sticks attached to each other. You run two and two on each side, and then they integrate into the stand. And so it just works really
Yeah.
well together. And then after those sticks, we came out with the Rise. Once again, it was kind of customer feedback like, man, I like the Element, but I want to be lighter. I like the Ultra, but I want a little bit more space. And so we came up with the Rise, and that one's a medium-sized stand, and that one was 8 pounds. Uh,
Wow.
that really kind of fit a niche market of guys that maybe were a little bit taller or a little bit bigger, and they wanted just a little bit more space, but they didn't want to carry the one that's over 10 pounds, and so that Rise really fit well for them.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, there's all different types of hunters. You have
Yeah.
hunters that like, man, I want to be as lightweight as possible. I don't care how much room I have. I'm just going to sit there. You have guys that want a little bit more room, and then you have other guys that one of my buddies, he calls the Element. He's like, that's the Cadillac version. He's like that. Well,
That's the
he's a little bit
Suburban.
bigger boy. uh, and so, from there, we branched off into camera arms.
Yeah, I was looking at that. And I didn't know you guys did that, and I'm glad I did because sorry to interrupt you, but
No, yeah, you're fine.
um I I'm going to Canada in about 4.5 weeks for bears, and I don't know, I'm a little cheap. I look at GoPros and I'm like, man, whatever, two, three, 400. I'm like, man, and I'm like, hey, these guys got camera arms. So yeah, yeah, I guess I'm just rambling, but um it looks like, which I think is cool, you can use your cell phone.
Yeah, you can use it for basically kind of anything. I mean, cell
Okay.
phone, GoPro, up to bigger cameras. We started off with the capture camera arm, and basically that was born from uh, Josh and I like to film. We're really into photography and
Yeah.
filming. Uh, it's something that we love to do, and we'd used quite a few different camera arms, and nothing was ever kind of what we wanted. It was, you'd have a camera arm that, man, this is solid, but it is just a pain to get it set up. Or you'd get one that, man, it was just tricky to set up. You'd get it where you thought it was, you'd have your camera swing it out, and then it kind of falls over.
Yeah.
Others it was, using ratchet straps, which were noisy. And you're in there first thing in the morning trying to be quiet, getting in, and then you're trying to do a ratchet strap. Uh, and so it was just how do we take what we don't like and solve those problems? Another
Yeah.
problem was, being compact. Uh, one of
Yeah.
the ones that I used, if I left the fluid head on there, it was about this wide. It wouldn't fold up. And so a couple of things that we wanted to solve were we want it compact. We want it to be able to fold up with the fluid head on there. We wanted it easy to set up and stable. And
Yeah.
it took a minute. I think we kind of went into it thinking, man, this is, we're going to get this pretty easy. And it
Yeah.
took a while, and it was kind of like, okay, this is probably why, there's these problems because they are hard to solve. And so we came
Yeah.
out with the capture, and it made it, anybody that films and films kind of religiously knows that if you're having to do it something every time you go in, if it's a pain, you don't want to do it.
No.
Which a lot of times then guys are like, man, I killed this deer, but I left the camera at home because I was just tired of setting everything up
Yep. Yep.
and or tired of lugging everything in. I think a lot of
Right.
guys have some of the old muddy camera arms that are like 15 pounds and they're like, man, I'm not lugging that in.
Right.
And so we came up with the capture.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great design. It worked really well, but the pivot point is out about a foot from the tree. So a lot of the saddle guys were like, "Hey, I like it, but this pivot point that sticks out of the tree, I can't swing around with that camera, and it doesn't reach out far enough." And so then that's when the Clutch and the Clutch Pro came about, and we came out with those, and those pivot closer to the tree,
Okay.
have a little bit more reach, and
Oh
kind of
yeah.
once again took what we learned from the first camera arm, uh, and made them even better. And so the other thing is we use an OCB strap. It's over center buckle is what that stands for,
Okay.
and basically kind of works like a lever. The strap goes in, you hook it on itself, kind of tighten it, and push it over like a lever, and it locks it in just as tight as a ratchet strap.
Ah.
But the awesome part about it is it's quiet and
Oh.
it's quick. Like I said, you tighten it up,
Yeah.
lever it over, and it's solid.
That looks like
And
a
then
slick well they all do. Yeah.
yeah, there's getting into it, found out that there's a lot of things that play into it. It's finding a happy medium between heavy enough that you don't have as much bounce. You're trying to minimize the bounce in your camera,
Right.
but also still lightweight. We went super lightweight and it just wasn't heavy enough, and so had to kind
Hmm.
of find that happy medium, and
Yeah.
then also offer options for guys that maybe they wanted to just film with a camera or a cell phone or
Yeah.
a GoPro. And so that's where we came out with the two different versions of
Okay.
the Clutch Pro, which is designed more for somebody that's running a DSLR.
Okay.
Um, our cameras, we're running uh, like the Canon R5 with a 70 by 200 lens. So you're up around, 4.5, 5 pounds. And so you have to have a little bit beefier thing
Yeah,
versus
right.
just doing a cell phone or a GoPro.
Yeah, because I'm thinking for bear hunting, have you bear hunted before?
I have not. No, I
Okay.
haven't.
Well, you obviously would know that, or a lot of the bear hunting is over bait in Canada. So you're really, I think the only time I did it, I used a buddy's GoPro and I had this contraption that I attached to my tree stand, the platform of it, and I just
Yeah.
aimed it at the barrel, right? I mean,
Yep.
but it got the shot and it was totally cool. I mean, I thought, wow, I could see why guys like doing this, but I don't know. I kind of like the idea of having that option of being able to swing some, if it
Hmm.
just for watching the animals, if it's 20 yards to the left of the bait, you could turn it and watch them and that and I kind of like the idea of using my phone. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
No, and I think that's, we go to a lot of shows, talk to a lot of people that want to get into filming and maybe they don't want to, I mean, you get into filming, you can spend 5,000 really quick. You can spend 10,000 really, really quick. But not everybody has that budget and not
Yeah,
everybody wants to spend that kind of money on
right.
that. Everybody has their own preferences. And so, with the clutch, it's I think the online price is 175. So it's not I mean it's decent amount of money, but it's pretty reasonable in the camera arm world.
Yeah.
And if you just want to film with your cell phone,
Yeah.
pretty much almost everybody has a smartphone now,
Yeah.
uh, you know, uh, for the most part. And they've got some adapters that go on the end, and you can easily
Yeah.
film with the cell phone or a GoPro. There's a
Yeah.
lot of guys that want to film. They're not trying to put anything in a film festival or make a
Right.
feature film on YouTube. They want to have something to show to their buddies, something that kind of, you can go back and review the shot placement, see where the arrow went. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many benefits that come from that with, and that you don't have to do a cinema film
Yeah.
type thing. So,
What do you have any experience in the GoPro world? Like what would you recommend? I mean, I know they come out with models seems like every other month, but is
yeah, I started off. Josh and I both bought the GoPros when they first came out, and I think it was like the Hero 3 or something. And I don't know if they're in the teens probably now.
yeah.
Um, those gave us a pretty bad taste. It was anybody that used those back then knew. I mean, the battery life in the cold lasted for a few minutes. I've talked to guys that they took like those, the hand warmers and they were taping those around the GoPro, just trying to get a few more minutes out of that GoPro. The battery life was just terrible.
Yeah.
I know the new ones are a lot better, but we switched over to DJI. So like the drone company DJI, they have I can't remember what it's called,
Okay.
Motion or something like DJI Motion or something. I can't remember exactly what it's called. We've had better luck with those.
Okay.
Uh, we use those more for like, self filming and where you're going to have a camera on yourself, for the kill shot. And then we've got our cannons that's going to be on the deer.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It'd just be cool. I just kind of started doing stuff on YouTube. I dropped my podcast episodes on there and I don't know. It's just something I thought I could add to the arsenal, if you will. And yeah, and making shorts. I've been doing these shorts, they're like a minute long and been having
Mhm.
fun doing that. But I'm going to look at that DJI camera.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean their drones are phenomenal, and then they're also, like I said, into basically a GoPro size.
Yeah.
They have another one that's a small camera on a gimbal that's pretty nice. Their quality is top notch. Like I said, I know GoPro is improved their stuff. I just don't have the experience with the newer stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you got your stands, you got camera arms. I didn't even know this. You got e-bikes on here, huh?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, that kind of started. Josh had bought one, and uh, he just really liked it. And the company that he bought it from, started talking to him. Hey, would you guys want to become dealers? And
Yeah.
we did. It kind of complements the lineup and the mobile hunting theme.
Yeah.
All of our gear is mobile hunting gear, and the bikes kind of fit into that. We use them for everything. We use them for turkey hunting. We use them for duck hunting. Use them for deer hunting, and like I said, yeah, just kind of complemented the lineup. So
Yeah. That's really cool. I've never even been on one. I mean I've seen them and they look like some really well built bikes. So that's so you're doing bikes, you're doing camera arms, you're doing tree stands, and yeah, you guys got
and
what I
then
know. Oh, go ahead, Jared.
well, and just to follow up with that on the tree stand. So we did just come out this year
Oh yeah.
with a new lineup of stands. So once again, we took what we learned from the previous stands, and talking to people, getting customer feedback, what they liked, what they didn't like, and lightened up every one of the stands. So that's the new kind of X lineup. So it's the Ultra X, Rise X, and Element X now.
Yeah.
And so like the Ultra X, we went from 6.25 to 5.8 pounds, which almost a half a pound. It may not, it doesn't necessarily sound like a lot, but when you're talking about mobile hunting gear, that can be a huge
Yeah.
difference. So that stand is just it's crazy light. Uh, the Rise X, we went from 8 pounds to 7.1, so almost shaved a pound off of that one. And then the Element, we went from 10.4 to 9.5. So really improved those stands. Also added a few things. One of the things was the locking mechanism for the seat and how it attaches to the base. So there's actually these locking clips that when you fold it up and you're getting ready to take it into the field, it actually locks into place. That the seat locks into that base really well.
Yeah. So
So,
that's the X line.
hmm
Man, them things just don't weigh anything. I just love that. And yeah, I just think I was just in my garage the other day and I saw an old, I think it was a gorilla stand.
yeah.
I don't know if you remember
Oh, I
that.
remember those. Yeah,
Now, I mean, I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm not like ancient either. But man, I lifted, and it was a little one, and I'm like, man, I lifted that thing up. I'm like, this thing, it's like heavy as a truck. It's like now you guys are making all this super cool lightweight stuff. And what another thing I wanted to point out, Jared, is in which I think is really cool, is you have all kinds of accessories. You got tree stand shoulder straps, you got the ratchet strap, the cam buckle, the seat cushion. And what I even kept scrolling down is you can get the replacement cables for them.
hmm
So what I
yep,
love about that, yeah, you could say, oh, it's the old what's that saying, buy once, cry once, right? We've heard that.
yep,
So here you guys are building these quality stands in Kansas, but let's say you have one for however many years and you think, you know what, I need to replace these cables. You call Jared up or your brother and say, hey, I need a Element X cable set. Boom, $25. And you can replace those every few years. You don't have to worry about. I just think that's really, really. I think
Yeah,
that's good.
and that kind of came about. Everybody. I mean, growing up, we didn't have a whole lot of money, so we bought as cheap of stuff as we could.
Right.
And so we've all bought the stand that was, 50, on sale for $50 at Cabela's, some closeout special, and you leave it in the tree, and sometimes you forget it there for a year. Well, you come back and the thing's rusted out, uh, and like the steel cables, if you leave that out, you don't know what's
Right.
happening under that rubber. You don't know if rain's gotten in there, the humidity, and just for that extra peace of mind,
Yeah.
replacing those, needs to be an option. And so
Yeah.
that's why we did that. It's just like I said, our stands are designed for mobile hunting. It's more of your stand that you go in, whether it's on public or private.
Hmm.
You're moving it around. Our stands aren't cheap.
Yeah.
Uh, it, I think we've done a good job at keeping them reasonable for what they are.
Yeah.
But most guys aren't going to go out and buy 10 $450 stands and set them up.
Right.
It's not typically what you do. Uh,
Right.
but whether you leave it out and like I said, you don't know what's going on inside that cable. You're going to be good for a while, but
Yeah.
never know. So if it's worth that extra, I mean, we just, you hear stories of guys, they're like, man, they bought a steel stand or something, or they left it out. Like, man, it's been out there 3 years and I went to get in it. And man, I just don't trust it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, here's a way to kind of basically refurbish your stand and be good to go. So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
that's
another thing,
cool.
I don't know if you saw it on there, another, um, kind of something that it's a problem in the field. What's the solution? The stick clips. So those stick
Mm.
clips it's a 3D printed part. You put it on, you clip it onto your belt, and then you run the sticks on. You slide your stick onto it. It's an attachment method to hold your stick as you go up the tree. So
Oh yeah.
one of the problems is, okay, I'm at the tree. I've got my 4 climbing sticks. How do I get those up the tree?
Right.
And so, some guys use carabiners on their belt or a loop or some kind of string, and well, then the sticks can wave around. Well, with our sticks, they're attached to each other by magnet. You put those stick clips on, put your climbing sticks on each side, and then you're just peeling off the stick as you go up the tree. So,
You know, Jared, this is not good because keep thinking I'm going to have to get a mortgage to or sell a couple of my kids to buy all these cool gadgets. No, that's really a great tool to again to make it easier, yeah, more efficient, not going up and down, and yeah, how it just clips on your belt like that, and yeah, that
yeah,
is
it is for hunters, it's a great time to be alive. I mean, when you
right.
think about, there's probably, I don't know, 30 different camo companies, X
Yeah.
amount of tree stand companies, hundreds of duck call companies and turkey call companies. I mean, growing up, you had pretty much, real tree and mossy oak, and
Yep.
those were the two bigs.
Yeah.
Now you just, you have your Kuiu and your Sitka with the technical gear, and other companies that do well in that space.
Yeah.
It's just everybody has so many options now. It's
Oh, it's almost it's great. I agree. It sometimes can be a little like overwhelming. Like you go to
Yeah.
Bass Pro and you go to look for a spinner bait and you go down an aisle and there's like 35,000 different spinner baits and you're like, my goodness, do we need that many? But no, I agree. The options are great. Um, all right, you know what? Let me mention another sponsor here. Before I want to get into shipping, I want to ask you how shipping is for you guys. We've been hearing that a lot with shipping, just arrows once in a while. I want to shout out to these boys I met at Jarad. I went to a traditional archery rendezvous in Berrien Springs, Michigan, a few weeks ago, and I met these two gentlemen from Kentucky. Jeff and Shane Evans, and Shane makes longbows as like a side gig, and Jeff has a company called Circle E Archery, and he jumped on board with me, and he does a lot of really cool leather goods, arm guards, quivers. He's even got this really cool leather. Boy, how would you describe it? But it's a little leather, oh, envelope, let's just call it. It's got a spool of thread in it, and then you add the thread to your arrow, and like an arrow tracker or whatever, something
Hmm.
tracker.
Hmm.
And it's just, my first thought when I see that, I was like, oh, and Jeff, you're going to hear this, but don't worry, I'll still get your product one of these days. Is you're just leery of attaching something to your arrow. At least I am. It's like, ah.
Yeah.
But he's done it multiple times, never had a hitch. So Jeff Evans at Circle E Archery, look him up. He just has some really, really cool items. And then I want to just shout out my wood arrow business, Stickbow Country Custom Arrows. I'm loving building wood arrows for people. At some point, I think I'm going to have to branch out to carbon and aluminum because, again, I'm taking the archery world and then I'm just like taking a sliver of it again.
Hmm.
And so at some point, but I don't know when that is. I just got on as an elder at my church, so that's a 3-year term. So it's like, man, you know how it is. There's only so many hours in the day, but I want to do that at some point because I think it will increase business immeasurably. So yeah, give me a shout if you want some woodies. Look me up on Instagram or whatever. But yeah, I want to talk to you, Jared, just for a minute about shipping. Shipping from guys I've talked to, and like I said, just me delivering a dozen arrows now and again seems to be a real challenge. How has that been for you guys as a company?
Uh, I would say not bad.
Okay.
We use UPS.
Yeah.
90, I would say 95% of our stuff goes UPS. We do use some through the postal service, but that just be kind of smaller items.
Okay.
But I would say overall with UPS, we've had pretty good luck. You have your occasional one where driver drops it off at the wrong spot
Yeah.
or something along those lines. But UPS has done pretty good for us. I went on a fishing trip with some guys from Realtree
Hmm.
about a month and a half ago, and that's what we were talking about. Different issues that they face and different issues that we face, and shipping was one of them. And they were actually having some problems with UPS at the time, but that's the one that's performed the best for us.
Yeah.
We had issues with FedEx, USPS. Man, like I said, we do some stuff, some smaller items, but man, they're just slow. I
Yeah. Yeah.
don't know if they're using covered wagon to get some of that stuff there or what, but
Yeah.
but I'd say for the most part, like our UPS stuff, kind of what I talked about earlier. We're trying to ship it out within a day, and then a lot of the people uh, probably have it within 3 days or so.
Yeah. That's remarkable because in some ways it's good that Amazon sort of set the precedent with like, 3-minute shipping. But on the other side of that coin is it kind of made it hard for guys like yourself because people have that expectation, right? Of, hey, I ordered it yesterday, I should have it tomorrow or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I've talked about that before. It's Amazon's kind of a blessing and a curse. I mean, it's an incredible company. I mean, everything's kind of in your reach, and especially, when they had next basically the prime shipping and you'd get it within a day or two. It's a
Yeah.
little longer than that now. But I think for the hunting world, one of the things that Amazon hurt was this kind of this big company with no face type feeling that people have. Well, I ordered it from Amazon. I didn't like it, so I just sent it back.
Yeah.
Well, Amazon's I don't know what their revenue is. I'm sure it's within, tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So that's built into their system. And that's where, I think sometimes people forget in the hunting industry, a decent number of the companies are small businesses. They're not
Yeah.
some, big conglomerate of make,
Yeah.
in the billions of years and or billions of dollars in revenue. Um, and so, yeah, Amazon has kind of it's changed the mentality of people. Well, I should have it in 2 days,
Yeah.
or if I don't like it, I'm just going to send it back. Well, you think about some of that for some of these smaller companies. Returning something, that company may not be able to reuse it,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where we're at. We can't send a stand out to somebody and they use it for a week. Well, it's just I wanted to try it out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
well, no, I can't sell it, to somebody else because they don't want a used product. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that's some of the challenges you face in this day and age where you have an Amazon, um, you know, similar to you, if you cut arrows for someone
Yeah.
and make custom arrows, you
Yeah.
know, uh, you're probably going to be eating that money if they
Right.
return them. Now, if it's a legitimate issue, there
Right.
was a problem with it. Hey, fine, yeah, we're going to
Right.
stand behind our product, but you do have people out there that it's like, oh, I just want to try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
No, and I love that about building arrows for people because almost a lot of the time I'm either physically talking to them over the phone or at the very least texting back and forth, and it's a real personal connection that I get with people, and it's like you guys with your tree stands, you take pride in building something really well. And my dad taught me that. I've been a house painter for 37 years, and I worked for my dad for 22 of those 37. And he says you paint every customer's house, like it's yours.
Mhm.
And that's how you guys are with your stands. You're building stands that are quality made. And I that's like a business model that I think, well, I shouldn't say can't fail, but when you have that mindset of building a quality product, being honest with people, man, I think you're got a good plan.
Yeah, and I think that is an important thing for us because at the end of the day, um, you can sleep easy knowing, hey, we put out a good product, we stand behind it.
Yeah,
When there's issues and someone calls, typically they're gonna have me answering the phone.
yeah,
The emails go to us, and so the customer is typically dealing with us. If they have
yeah.
any issues, and we've made friendships off of that. We've
Hmm.
got lots of friends that we've made just through this.
Yeah,
We go hunting with people that we've met at trade shows.
yeah, right.
Whether it's turkey hunting or duck hunting, some of our closest relationships now are people that we met through Elevate and through the trade shows. And that's one thing that we do is we go to a decent number of trade shows.
Yeah,
Um, Try and have a healthy balance because we could be gone, all the time.
right.
Um, for the home life that doesn't really work, and for hunting.
Yeah, right.
We typically take off kind of the April end of March, April, May timeframe because that's turkey season, and we hit that one pretty hard. Um,
Yeah, well, when I called, I was at work, I was painting outside of a house. Like, you know what? I'm calling this Elevate right now. Boom, got in my truck and get on the phone. I'm like, oh, hey, it's like, well, again, I thought you were one of the owners, but I
yeah.
didn't expect it to go that easily. And I'm like, that's really cool that you can call a company and talk to like the real deal. You're not talking with
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
you're not talking with some intern or somebody that's just answering
Yeah,
phones and really don't know about the product. Yeah.
yeah, that's to me. In commerce today, I'll take that over any, like all my traditional archery gear, my quivers, my broadheads. I could just call people and hey, I need another half a dozen broadheads, or hey, and I just love that about it. But
Yeah.
um, why don't you? Well, is there anything else you want to cover, Jared, in regards to your tree stand company?
No, I think, uh, one of the things that you did talk about that has been important for us is even at the beginning, the goal was never to get in like a Cabela's type store.
Yeah,
Uh, like you said, you go into Cabela's and you're almost overwhelmed by everything. Some of the staff there hunt, but they don't know the product really well. Like, I mean, you get some of them that, they know their fishing poles or their reels, things like that. But then you get over to the tree stands, they don't know that. They don't use it. Um, they don't know like I said, they just don't know it intimately. And that's been one of the things that was important to us is, and we are at the moment, we're consumer direct. We've talked about getting in maybe some dealers. Um,
mm,
but it would be some select places where the guy, maybe the people that own it, they hunt, and they use the products.
yeah,
It's something that, that's something that's important to us, is it's the people have an avenue to talk to somebody that uses it, and that's
yeah,
knowledgeable in the product. And it's, somebody calls with a problem, they're probably talking to Josh or myself. We're going to walk them through it. Okay, what are you doing? How did you do this? And we've used it enough that, we can come up with a solution. Oh, you're doing this wrong, or maybe try it this way. Maybe this is a
yeah.
better way. I've had guys call me from the tree stand. Hey, I can't figure out how to get this OCB strap buckled in. I didn't watch the video before I came out, and I'm literally in the tree stand trying to get it attached, and I can't get it. It's just kind of funny stories like that.
Yeah,
It's that customer connection that's important to us,
yeah,
uh, and not just, seeing them as a customer, but like I said, there's some of those that are, now some of our closest friends.
yeah,
Um, so it's just, yeah, it's taking it serious. It's taking, um,
yeah,
hunting's a serious business to us. I mean,
yeah.
not
Well,
just the business part, just hunting it. We take that very seriously, and we know what we expect out of, the gear that we use,
yeah.
and we want people to have those same expectations with our stuff.
Well, and you mentioned how many people you met through trade shows and et cetera. I'm been so thankful just through this podcast how many people I've met like yourself, and yeah, the doors that have been opened through that. I've just met some incredible people from one end of the country practically to the other, and it's just been so much fun. And then uh, yeah, starting next year, probably I'm going to host an annual spring bear hunt through the podcast,
Mm.
and just in Ontario, and
Yeah,
just maybe get I can get half a dozen listeners each year or something. I don't know. Wait, I don't know exactly how it's going to look, but I just I don't know. It's exciting to me to meet people and hear stories and hear uh, just get to know people. And I think that's why I love doing this podcast so much is just, and you can relate to this probably on a much bigger scale, but you get a message on Instagram. Hey, I listened to this episode and I don't know, it brings a smile to your face that somebody enjoyed it. I talked to those guys from Kentucky up in Michigan at that show, and they said they listened to my podcast the entire ride home. And I'm like, wow, you guys must have really been bored. But I just love that it's making people smile. It's maybe
yeah,
they learn something. I'm hoping through this podcast people can learn about your business, hopefully support you guys. Um, it's just fun, but.
yeah. No, we've had some of those same things. I can't remember where we were turkey hunting last year, and I think it was Tennessee or Kentucky, and some guys saw we were driving, the truck with the Elevate on the side.
Mm.
They're like, "Hey, are you guys with the Elevate?" And so then, got to talking to them. Just, little things like that. It was
Yeah.
another funny story is One of the coworkers and I were coming back from a show. We were like in the middle of nowhere. I don't even remember what state it was in. Gas station. Pull in there just to get diesel, and one of the guys was like, Elevate, I've heard of you guys. I've seen you on Instagram and everything. He's like, I've been meaning to buy one of your stands. Do you have any with you? He bought a mobile bundle there at a like middle of nowhere gas station. His family owned the gas station and like a auto repair shop next door. Just some crazy things like that. Had to go in, get inside the trailer, unbuckle the cart. We put everything in carts and
Yeah.
get out the stand. And yeah, it's just it's funny how you meet people and meet people in different places, and it is it's a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
Now, have you met Michael Waddell?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do want to talk to you after, just for a few minutes after we finish recording. But I don't know, it was during COVID, 20, whatever that was, 21, I think. I'm home with COVID, and fortunately for me, it wasn't really bad. But I had a buddy that was at Bow Fest in Superior, Wisconsin, because he lives in Duluth, Minnesota. And my cell phone rings, and he goes, "Hey, Mark, you want to talk to Michael Waddell?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, right," because I've enjoyed Real Tree Outdoors and Bone Collector and that. And I said, "Oh heck yeah, I'd love to talk to Michael." So he literally never met this guy in my life. We probably had a, I don't know, 10, 15 minute talk about COVID and hunting and I like your show. And the long story of reason I'm saying this is I really want to get him on the podcast just to, again, just to talk. And but yeah, I want to talk to you after. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't even brought it up, but I love it.
He's a good storyteller. Yeah.
Yeah. He's and he's got a new podcast that just came out, I saw.
Oh, does he?
He
Yeah.
Kirk Cameron, you probably know that name.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah. He was his first episode was a really great interview with Kirk Cameron about hunting, faith, and I think if you've got a drive ahead of you, which you're always driving to a state hunting, you can listen to that. But why don't we end here, Jared? Why don't you? Let's see, what time is it? Yeah, why don't you tell us a hunting story? You got something that you think, like people might like this one.
Yeah, I'll do two.
Okay.
One's fairly quick, so um, and I like to talk about this one just because of the rivalry between Josh and I. So, like I said, Josh and I brothers grew up together. Um, Both are extremely competitive, and that's probably saying putting it lightly. So it's always who can shoot the bigger deer. And last year there was a deer that early on he's like, "I'm calling dibs on that deer." I'm like, "You can't call dibs." And he's like, "Nope, I'm calling dibs on that deer." And so there was a spot we both hunt, and uh, I kind of he hunted earlier in the season, um, and he was hunting that deer, and so I was kind of staying off that property, and finally at one point he was like, he goes, "I don't care if you hunt there,"
Hmm.
and he had every time he went out there, something happened to where he couldn't hunt. So
Hmm.
we play the wind religiously.
Okay.
If the wind's wrong, we will not hunt. He got out there. The wind was supposed to be right. He gets out there 5 o'clock in the morning, and the wind is not what the weather app says it is. So he goes hunts a different spot. One of the other times he's going 5 o'clock in the morning, hits probably a high 140s to 150 8 point deer. Beautiful deer. Hits it with his truck. And he's like, "Man, I can't, a buck like this deserves to be processed and everything. And so instead of hunting, he put the deer on the trailer, took it in, got it processed. Uh, and that buck walked through the food plot that day. Like that morning, he should have been in the stand. Wind was right. Everything was right. Should have had it. Next one, his he had a grandson that had a birthday party, and he's like, "Man, I kind of want to hunt." His wife was like, "No."
Right.
He's like, "Oh, I'll just be kind of a little bit late." And like, "No, you need to be there." Buck walked through the food plot that day. And then we typically take a week off during the rut, and we were talking. He was like, "Well, hey, where are you hunting?" I said, "Well, I was thinking I was going to hunt that spot tonight." And uh, he goes, "Okay, I'll hunt it tomorrow morning." Well, I get out there. It's in the high 60s, almost 70 degrees. I'm thinking, man, not much is going to be moving. Sure enough, long story short, that buck walks in. I have him at 20 yards, put an arrow right through his heart. he runs, he runs maybe 20 yards, drops over. I call Josh. I'm like, or no, I texted him and I said, "Big buck down."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "I don't joke about that." He calls me and ends up driving over to that property, and he's like, pulls up and he goes, "I've got to be honest." He goes, "I'm a little conflicted right now." He was like, "I'm happy for you, but I'm really, really not happy about this." So I like to tell that story just because got
Yeah.
one over on him, I guess.
Yeah.
It just, and then his wife ends up saying, she was like, "I just had a feeling Jarad was going to kill that buck this year. I just,"
Right.
he's like, "Seriously?" So that was a funny recent
Yeah.
story. The other one is probably causes the most. Well, there's two, but that's one of them that causes the most heartburn for me. Uh, there's a buck that we were watching. I mean, his tines, he was a 10 point. They were like candlesticks. I don't know what he would have scored, but I know the following year my buddy shot him or got him with a bow, and he was a 9 point, and he went in I think the 180s,
Oh.
right around 180. But so we're watching him, waiting for the wind to be right for this certain stand or in this property, and the wind was finally going to be right. I think it was on a Wednesday. This is I think 2011, and I'm gonna take off work early. Josh is like, "Hey, make sure you have all your stuff on before you get in the stand.
Mm.
You've got to be ready to go."
Yeah.
It's about a half-mile walk in, and it's one of those days where it's like, I think it was like 55 or 60, probably 55, I think, sunny. And so I don't have all my stuff on. And when I walk in with stuff, I sweat easily.
Yeah.
I'm active, I sweat easily. I get cold easily when I'm sitting there, but I sweat when I'm active. And so I walking in, I'm pretty warm by the time I get there. And I'm like, I'm not going to put my heavy coat on, just
Yeah.
yet. Get up in the stand. It's pretty windy, so I quickly get pretty cold, like right away.
Yeah.
So I'm putting my coat on. I'm in the stand. I'm putting my coat on, and I'm pulling it down, and I hear a noise. Like, man, did my coat just hit the tree? Like, what was that? Pull down my coat. I hear it again, and I look back, and there's that buck at 40 yards, just staring right at me.
Oh.
Obviously, I was blown. He wasn't coming in. Like, and he ended up turning around, trotting off. I wanted to like I was so sick I wanted to throw up. I
Yeah.
I was so close to just throwing up. I was ready to give up the season. I got down out of the stand like I can't, I'm not sticking around up here. Like I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Obviously he wasn't coming back. Um
Oh my word. Did you ever see him again?
no, not that season. Nope. Didn't see him again. And then like I said, a buddy of mine shot him um I mean, several mile, like I think probably 5 miles away the following
Oh,
season. And it was really surprising. He went, like I said, he went from a 10 point to a 9 and
Hmm.
he wasn't an old deer.
Yeah.
Uh, so so yeah. So two two kind of
Man.
funny hunting stories. One ended well for me. The other one, Josh never lets me live down. Uh,
I told you to be ready.
oh yeah, I get the "I told you so" all the time. So
Oh, that's really, really good. Well, Jared, before we go, and I do want to chat with you just for a minute afterwards, but I just wanted to shout out to one other sponsor of my show, Selkirk North Trading Company, the old coffee mug I'm drinking out of. Look up his stuff. He's got a lot of cool t-shirts, hats, mugs, and stuff. And he's just a really good dude, even though he lives in Idaho, but we won't hold that against him. But Jared, how can people get a hold of Elevate and and that, and if they want to buy some of your stuff?
yeah. So we're on Facebook and Instagram. It's Elevate Stand Co. And then we're also on the internet, elevatestand.co. It's .co, so don't put in .com. Um, and either of those avenues, you'll get them, or find us. And I get calls all the time of people asking, "Hey, what stand do you recommend?" A lot of guys,
Yeah,
maybe they're wanting to get into the mobile hunting game, but they're not sure about it. And since we're consumer direct, unless they come to a trade show or one of their buddies has a stand,
yeah,
can't see what it's like in person unless they use one of those avenues. And so I'll get phone calls from guys that we talk about, hey, what type of hunting you're used to, what type of stands you're used to, what's your height and your weight and things like that, and then kind of narrow it down onto to
yeah.
which stand. So any one of those, they can find us, and
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And then I guess if this, I don't know how soon this will air, but we'll be at two of the mobile hunter expos.
Mm,
So there's one in Dalton, Georgia, and that's like August 8th or something like that weekend, and then there'll be one in Wilmington, Ohio, like around the 23rd or something like that of August. And so those are some pretty good shows for mobile hunting. There's a lot of basically it's a trade show that is hunting only. So you got a lot of trade shows that
uh,
somebody's selling popcorn or salsa mix or
yeah.
whatever it is. These are primarily mobile hunting products. So
Okay. All right. No, that's awesome. People look up these stands. They're awesome. They're lightweight. They're made in America, and it's just awesome. But I'm gonna, uh, yeah. Thanks for coming on, Jared. I'm gonna hit the stop recording here.